Hey, it's me again. It is currently Saturday, December 20th, and boy, do I have news for you. So as of today, as of yesterday, I have been officially been certified as an EMT nationally, right? So I passed my INR EMT exam. All I have to do now is get certified to work, or to get licensed to work in Georgia. So I am currently in the process of that. On Monday, I should go for my fingerprinting and I should speak with the EMT that offered me work. Right. So my path is already locked in. By next year, I should start working as an EMT, and maybe by the first quarter or the first half of next year, I should be training as a firefighter. Right. So those two things are coming up. Looking back at things now, kind of looks like things are going to be problematic. Trying to balance them out in terms of stress and time, in particular. So, like for firefighting, I know you have to be there Monday to Friday for 8 hours. So I'm not sure how I'm going to have to balance that with working as an EMT, right? I'm thinking maybe for firefighting, if I start training at 7, I might have to leave the place at 3 to go to work as a EMT. So the entire thing seems problematic. So I might have to speak with the guy that offered me work and see what he says about this. So as long as I am not stressed and as long as I have time for myself, I'll make my decision based on that. So that might mean cutting, being an EMT altogether and like focusing on being a firefighter. Right. I have my certification, so I could put that in my application and maybe they can figure out a higher position for me there. So yeah, I guess we'll see where it goes. So I guess we could then talk about like the lesson I've learned studying for the NREMT and actually taking the NREMT exam. So a big thing for me was to always take the path of least resistance. So for me, studying kind of took too long or longer than I expected. I know in the last video I discussed that I have reviewed my options and this is the only pathway forward. Apparently, there are ways for you to make things even easier than things are. So yeah, like it just took way too long for me to, for some reason, study for this exam. Right? I'm not sure what it is. Maybe anxiety of not knowing, or maybe my perfectionism or conservatism. In the fact that like I need to like stick to this traditional way of studying. So that being, you need to read the textbook, right, front to back, or read a chapter front to back, and then you should have enough information to take your quiz. Sure, that could be useful for, I guess, understanding the topics, but that takes a lot of time. And it seems really useful to do that if you need a deeper understanding, right? If you're going for a professional position, or, if you're just starting out a topic. Some things had to change for me to sit down and think about like, how do I make this easier on myself, right? Because like I have an exam coming up, I am still behind in studying, and I feel repressed, like I'm not making progress as fast as I needed. So some things had to change. First, I had to accept that there are things that I don't know, and there are things that I will likely not know, right? Then I had to look around and see like what resources I had. In this case, AI, free AI, right? Majority of my studying was done on using Google's AI tools, something called, I think, Notebook LM. That's a very powerful tool as long as you have your text and notes, saved to your computer. You can do a lot with it, right? You can, for example, you can make a quiz out of it. You can make mind maps. You can make podcasts out of it, right? Videos, right? All AI generated using your materials that you uploaded. And for people that like to learn through repetition, that's like a list of things you can use to study. Different ways for you to study the same materials. In addition to that, there's also the Google widget at the top. So that's like an on-screen guide. If you have any questions about what you're looking at on your screen, you can ask it, right? It can, give you prompts. If you want to do a quick web search, you can use that as opposed to just opening a new tab. So these are ways to make things easier myself studying, as opposed to just, repeating the same techniques I've been using in the past. Sure, I mentioned AI. A lot of you have frowned. And yes, I do hear your grievances. But yeah, it's a method of making things easier. But the thing is, it's still flawed in a way that if you do try to use it to search the broader web, it does start to hallucinate, right? It gives you false information. But if you're able to upload sources and ask questions based on those sources, I'd say it's usually accurate most of the time. So you can trust AI for specialized tasks, but you should be careful with it in that you need to verify your work, especially when you're using it to browse the broader web. Another big thing that indicated to me that something had to change was, interactions with my friends, right? A couple of my friends took the exam and they passed it, and I felt a bit of envy and anger. Not per se towards them, but towards the envy towards them, but the anger towards myself, in that, like, why do I have to make things harder on myself when there is no solid reason for it? I mean, anxiety and I guess professionalism or perfectionism, I guess, could be useful in some sense, but in my context, I don't really have enough time. But I just felt anger. I took it as a means of recognizing that this is something wrong, like I am too slow in, doing what I'm doing, and I need to speed things up. So I acted on it. I spoke to my friends and see what they did. They referred me to a couple of resources that I could also use to study. I did use a few. They pointed me to some resources that were also instrumental for me to use for AI as well. So they also served as support, right? Urging me to just take the exam, move forward. It wasn't that hard. So their experience was very useful, and I am thankful to them for that. Well, just to wrap things up, you just need to be conscious, right? You need to know what you are, what you aren't, and what you want, right? I am not a doctor. I am just a guy trying to pass the exam to get a job, right? So I don't have to learn things in detail. There might be opportunities to do so, but that should be done earlier, right? So just learn enough for you to get past your coming goal, right? You need to be able to know what is working and what isn't. Like a great motivator, as mentioned before, for me was emotions, right? That anger and towards myself and envy towards my friends kind of drove me to speak to my friends. With the information I gathered from them, I was able to generate a plan moving forward, keeping in mind the costs and benefits, right? AI isn't as efficient, it makes mistakes, so you need to verify your answers. It can be used for productivity, but it gets things wrong, so you should be checking your sources and resources, so the answers it gives you. You need to be able to assess where you are and adjust accordingly, right? So for example, the issue of time for me, it didn't really make sense for me to keep studying the way I was studying before because it takes a lot of time. So I just had to take the quizzes as quickly as possible, get feedback on where I need to improve on, and work on those moving forward. You have to know your tools and resources as AI and your friends, and you should not be afraid to try new things, right? If it needs to be done, I suggest you do it, right? It is one thing for you to have emotions, it is one thing for you to have plans, but those things will mean nothing if you don't actually do it. So don't be scared of an empty canvas, just move forward. All right, which brings us to what the channel's future would be. So now that I am pretty much just waiting for my license at this point and getting ready to start work, I have a lot of free time. So in addition to me journaling and discussing the things on my mind, I also plan on branching to different, topics, right? Maybe some sort of like a weekly updates, weekly news, talking about, macroeconomics, how the US economy is doing, something that I care about. Talk about tech, new consoles, maybe new breakthroughs in technology. AI is a big one. Talk about politics because like everything is politicized nowadays, right? Technology, the economy, right? A lot of topics should be talked about there. Talk about art. I do like art as a form of free expression, so gaming, drawings, music, all that stuff. Talk about science as it relates to emergency services. Hobbies that I do pick up along the way, I also plan on discussing those as well. On the weekends, I'm also thinking of doing community service, so I might host a live event where people could come and hang out. That might be something I do in the future, depending on or if the channel gets big enough and people are interested in what I have to say. I guess you can come chill with me. We discuss on the weekends. I also plan on making a separate channel for gaming. I just want to discover more ways to use my time, So yeah, just stay tuned for that. I'll be streaming on Twitch, so any VODs that I might get from there, I will upload to that channel. But yeah, I feel pretty good. So future Reese, if you're watching this, whenever you feel down, I want you to look back at this video, be proud of everything you've accomplished, keep your head up and keep moving forward. I am very proud of you, and you are moving fast, in some respect, in some unprecedented ways. Scary, but very exhilarating. And I want you to know I am your biggest fan, and I will implore you to keep moving forward. So yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Until next time, work good, play good, rest good. Bye.